Well, good afternoon, everybody. If you're joining us live, welcome. And I want to tell you right off the bat, you can make comments or ask questions in the feed. So if you're on YouTube or on the Relationship Matters page on Facebook, you can just write your questions right in the comments, and it actually will show up in the studio here, and we'll be able to answer your questions. So I'm just telling you off the top, ask as many and as often as you'd like. Also, if you're joining us later and you're not live, but you have a question that came out of watching this discussion, please leave it. It always notifies me of questions, and we would be happy to answer those for you. And so welcome to our live cast called Relationship Matters. It's based on the book I wrote by the same name, Relationship Matters. And what I wanted to do is I believe everything flows out of relationship. And so why I started this was to have relationship discussions with experts, with everyday people, and sometimes those are the same. They're experts and they're everyday people, like we have today, our guests. I'm so excited to have Kim and Darlene Unrau with me, and I'm going to introduce them just in a minute here. But I just wanted to let you know that this live cast runs every Thursday at 1 p.m. And if you subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the bell, it'll notify you when we're live, but it'll also stay on there evergreen. So somebody asked a question in our announcement slide, can we watch it later? What if we can't watch it at 1 p.m.? Yes, you can watch it later, and you can go on and watch it. And we would love for you to do that and interact with us on this subject, because I think we need, especially in today's day and age, we need to talk about relationships a lot more and how to have healthy ones. And so let me introduce you to Kim and Darlene Unrau. They are amazing people who understand and actually have committed their lives to helping people have healthy relationships, first with God, then with themselves, and then with each other. And that's what I'm passionate about. So the three of us getting into a room anywhere, it's a lot of fun. It's a good thing, right? So Kim and Darlene Unrau have been married for 33 years, which has required learning to communicate, resolve conflict, and prefer one another, and laugh till it hurts. I love that. Laugh till it hurts. Matthew, Joel, and Jordan are their incredible sons. Matthew and his wife, Sadie, are pursuing a kingdom business. Their children, Sullivan, is 2. So that makes these 2 grandparents as well. We share that fraternity as well. And they complete joy. Winifred, did I say that right? Is 3 months old. Joel is a teacher, while his wife, Payton, is a psychiatric nurse. So this family is full of helpers. And Jordan contracted cancer at 15 and went home to be with Jesus in heaven. We're going to touch on that a little bit today, but Jordan was an amazing young man. And if anybody, you had a chance to know him, that boy carried so much faith. He was an inspiration to thousands. And that's quite a story in itself. All right. I'm going to jump down a little bit. Kim loves to laugh, sail, and hunt. Darlene loves laughing and sailing, but saves her hunting for shopping and great resources.
She's pretty good at it too.
She's good. Yeah, that's good. Well,
I can tell you how much she paid for this sweater.
Well, Kim's degree is in theology and Darlene's is in education, majoring in counseling. Kim has ended up the consummate counselor, turning his years of experience into tent-making business, inspire life training, provided families, individuals, couples, executive coaching, and training in person via Skype. Kim and Darlene offer marriage and parenting retreat weekends. We're going to really talk about this at the end of the show more through their new joint project called Radical Relationships. And I'm going to put a website up for you a little later as well so that you can go check it out. This is amazing. True to You is an abstinence-based program developed by Darlene from gathering resources provided through local pregnancy care center. She has had incredible opportunities nationally, internationally, to provide presentations to students from grade 6s to university, in schools, athletic organizations, both public and private. The training of youth influencers, including parents, is her passion, since they are the ones on the front lines. They are the ones having 1,000 little conversations instead of the one big talk about healthy relationships, healthy sexual as God intended it. Whoa, that was a mouthful, and I even cut some out. But when you've got a couple to this degree that are both amazing people and experts, you are going to have a great conversation today with them. So, and what maybe a little known fact from my watchers here, I often tell people I have a coach, I have people I go to when I'm in crisis, and Kim is one of those people. He has been an incredible influence in my life, and I just want to thank you for that, Kim, publicly here. You have saved my bacon more than once in life.
And we just love bacon, so that's another thing that we both have going on. It's worthy of being saved.
It sounds like applause, doesn't it?
When you cook it, it's like anyway.
Yeah. I like that. It's cheering you on.
It is.
Eat me. I just I'm just so excited to have you guys on, and we have so much to talk about. I was thinking about, like, why in the world am I only doing an hour show with you two? Like, we could go 2 or 3. We could be Joe Rogan's. Like, we could just go forever, and people would just keep listening because you guys have so much.
That's what
I'm not going to shave my head.
You guys are going to drop so much wisdom on us today, and on the watchers and the viewers. Man, it's going to be amazing. And so I'm really excited to jump into this. What we want to talk about today is really just like 33 years. Come on. How do you stay together for 33 years and still be vibrant and excited about living life together? And I think we're going to kind of explore that a little bit. What are some things that we could maybe encourage viewers that are watching, how that maybe they've got some struggles in their family, maybe there's some tension in their families. Man, I don't know about you, but in these last 2 years, all the family crises and cracks are showing up. I've often said it's the great reveal, not just the great reset. It's a great reveal because, it's showing that maybe some things that were going on beneath the surface that we could hide with busyness and other things, and all of a sudden it's showing up. So let's start off, just Kim and Darlene, like, how have you been together this long? Like, come on, give us the secret.
Well, Darlene's maiden name is Wittenberg, and so that's a town in Germany. So all you have to do is be German. Then you've got a certain amount of stubbornness, which means you won't quit. And so our first few years were brutal. I didn't know how to manage conflict. She didn't know how to manage conflict.
I know how to teach other people to manage conflict. Yeah. I had just gone through seminary.
Yeah, she just got a degree. And so I thought, I'm going to get free counseling. It's like, no, it didn't work. So there's a lot of anger, a lot of holes and a lot of walls over the years. And the weekends were not enjoyable because that's the time that we had to spend together. So I looked forward to Monday so I could get back to work and find some kind of equilibrium, from some kind of peace.
Especially the first year.
Yeah, first year too.
It was a shock.
Oh, I was stunned. I thought we would be great at marriage. And then as I was making my third lap around the Safeway store trying to chase Darlene because we just had a conflict and we need to manage this, and the Lord says that don't let the sun go down on your wrath, and she's like, just leave me alone. Just leave me alone. I need some time, right? So we just had a really steep learning curve, but that stubbornness did really help. Also, her dad said, Darlene, you're not allowed to come home without Kim in anger. And so she wanted to.
Now he was obviously excluding the possibility of abuse,
right.
But he was very clear because he'd seen people run home and parents get involved sometimes when they needed to encourage that couple to stay together. So he was really clear. He asked me right up until the week before, you sure you want to marry this guy?
Really?
His name is Kim,
Oh, come on. That's a selling feature.
He did literally just ask me. And then it's not because he was unsure of you. He just knew marriage was such a huge commitment. He never took marriage lightly, he and my mom.
Right.
So we believed that it is possible for people to change just because I have core beliefs, core patterns, lies that I believe, doesn't mean that I have to keep those. And
Yeah.
so both of us were students of either books that we really found helpful, or people that we really found helpful. So we tried to look for people that were doing well in the realms that we valued, whether that be spiritual leaders, marriage leaders. So if a couple had a really healthy relationship and they laughed a lot and they looked like they were being affectionate, we would try to take them out or have them over and ask them questions. And then we would get together with people and say, what are your top books that really have helped you? So we believe that our convictions will lead us, and our convictions were flawed. Our beliefs were flawed. And so we just had to renew our minds, like according to, Romans. And so we just had a lot of renewing to do.
Yeah. And that's, you said something so important though, that you were willing to do the renewing. You were willing to find out those people. Like, I think that's just so powerful. I don't want to go too fast over it. Like, what a great tip for anybody watching. If you're wondering, like, how do we do that? Well, you have to be open and invite. Like I call in my book, I talk about proper covering, and and it's like I tell every person you allow to speak into your life as a shingle in your roof.
Huh.
Yeah, that's good.
That's good.
Right. And so that's what you're talking about there. You're talking about adding shingles to the roof. Like, they have to be safe people. They have to be have earned that. Like, but you said it was like people that we saw modeling it, or books that we found that were good. And I think what I'm taking away from what that is, that I want the audience to catch, is it is your responsibility. It's your responsibility to create the marriage you want.
Well, truth be told, my first motivation was to get her fixed.
Yeah.
So it's like, let's read this book together. Now, in my mind going, you need help, because what you just did was unacceptable. I actually said one time, I want to take full responsibility for the 10% blame that I carry in this argument. Now,
that went over so well.
Did not go over.
I'm sure it did.
But that was my actual mindset. I carry 10% of the issue here, so we need to get her fixed. Now, I hear that all the time in my practice with my clients. It's like, this is the real issue. I got stuff to work on, but nothing like this. And so the more research I did, and the more books and the more people I talked to, I began to realize it's like, oh, my insecurity is driving this. That's the reason why I can't let 10 minutes go in the midst of conflict. I have to go, what's going on? No, we have to talk about this. And I just would push and shove. And my insecurity was such a driver that as I began to read and talk to people, it's like, why can't you give her 10 minutes or half an hour? I didn't know anything about brain science and how long it takes to de-escalate. And I didn't know any of that. I just knew that we had a problem, and it was probably her fault. So getting married, she took a lot of the blame, and I gave a lot of the blame. And so it worked for a little bit. And then she's like, I don't like taking all the blame. And that's when everything flipped on its head.
Darlene, can you tell us, like imagine your self-esteem took a hit then. If you're taking the blame all the time, you go from this like loving, nurturing home where they're, are you sure? And then you like, were you ever made to kind of feel less than because of that?
Well, I was the kind of person who would apologize if it was raining.
Right.
I had done that most of my life, felt responsible. So it kind of felt familiar.
Right.
And it's not that my family would make me responsible, but I'm the oldest in my family, and I have a big sense of responsibility. And I was very aware of how sinful I am. That was a big part of growing up.
Right. So it fit perfectly.
It fit perfectly. Kim didn't take responsibility for anything. I take responsibility for everything.
I don't do guilt. She does a lot of guilt. Perfect.
So it was just consistent with the themes that I brought to the table. I do think a significant factor, well, the most significant factor was in our vows, we actually said, I don't trust you. I trust Holy Spirit in you. So we didn't put our trust in how amazing we were, even though you can always surround yourself with people who tell you that you're great. And so when I'd go to the Holy Spirit and ask him, and sometimes Kim got there first, which was so irritating, but I'd ask him, what's my part? He'd very willingly show me. No shame in it, but really very quickly. And that was it was always humbling.
Yeah.
And back to the people around you, I do remember a time that we were visiting Kim's old youth pastor.
Oh my goodness.
And we really respected their relationship. So Kim was like, I want to spend time with these two. So we spent time with them. And at one point, Kim just said something kind of snarky, little snide comment.
Maybe more than kind of snarky.
Which
let's say actually snarky.
No, but to be honest, it was very out of character for him. It really was. Like I hadn't experienced that, especially in public. And he kind of was just dismissive, and I don't even remember what it was. But his youth pastor stopped the conversation. There was just the four of us there in the living room, and just said, "Excuse me, Kim." Kim's like, "Yep, that won't work." What do you mean that
What won't work?
What you just said to Darlene, how you treated her, that won't work.
The way you treated your wife is not okay. And I look over, and Darlene's starting to cry, and I'm like,
I'm not bawling or anything, but
crap.
I've got little tears going.
I'm in trouble.
That's so wild. Somebody caught that.
Yeah.
They thought I wasn't wrong. Yeah.
So that's when I began to realize I may be off on this. That was Neil Black. He actually lives down on the coast, and he's still loving Jesus and
helps people
making
with
a
families.
difference. Yeah, he helps people with families. So it was just a game changer moment, and I had a few of those where people actually called me on my stuff because they cared, and they said, "This is unacceptable." Right. And I'm like,
we all have blind spots.
Weird.
Absolutely.
We wouldn't think the way we do if we didn't think we were right.
Yeah.
So it's my way, right? It's not a way, it's my way.
So Darlene, when was the moment that, well, maybe not the exact moment, but what was the awakening for you that you realized, hey, it's not okay to be wrong, like to be the one that's wrong all the time? And how did you?
I think it just ticked me off so many times. I think I just got so ticked off, and so I didn't think I had an anger.
You weren't angry before we got married.
No. I got along with my roommates, Now my brother would say I got angry. But see, again, we kind of save the parts of us we don't like for the people we feel the most comfortable with. And so sometimes you can't see those things before marriage. I don't think anyone would have said, "Oh, Darlene has a temper."
I didn't think I was angry.
No. Right. But he brought out, we thought we were patient until we had children, didn't we?
Yeah.
Right.
So there are scenarios that kind of pop up, and you discover things about yourself.
It's God's design to teach us who we really are.
So I don't remember there was a moment. I just mean gradually I was like, I don't like this. And of course, then the way I would communicate what I didn't like was really disrespectfully. Right. My face, I have a really good disdain face. I have a super awesome stink eye. And apparently, even if I'm just serious in a conversation, I can look like I hate you.
Yeah.
So I try to smile a lot.
Listen, those of us that know you have a hard time believing that because
my kids will go, amen.
Yeah.
One time Jordy, when he was really little, said, "Hey, Mom, your voice is really soft, but your eyes are really hard right now."
Yeah, that's
he was about 7.
Yeah, it's a great statement.
So of course, my disrespect would fuel his insecurities.
Oh.
Who wants to change when somebody's being contemptuous towards you? Really?
Right.
So the way I brought up stuff was pretty negative. And of course then he should just know what's going on in my head, right? Yeah. You know, because you did when we were dating. Wow, he just could read my mind, and everything he did was amazing.
Isn't it interesting, that transition though from dating, where, like, I always tell, even today, I tell when I'm doing marriage coaching, it's like, okay, are you still putting the same effort into winning her as you did when you were dating? Like, how could you be the mind reader and get it all right when you're dating and then get it all wrong, like after a wedding? Like,
well, and as the woman, I don't remember treating Kim contemptuously before.
I don't either. That would have been a game changer.
For sure. So, but the walls are down.
We walk down the aisle with desires, and then we walk back up the aisle with expectations. And as soon as those expectations don't get met, we go into a mentality of, oh, you don't care. If you cared, and then we start to create a story in our head, the narrative in our head, and then everything that happens we use to support our story.
Right.
And then she has a different story.
Yes.
Here's why you don't care. And if you cared, you would this, and this. And I'm like,
and by the way, those expectations aren't actually spoken.
No. We're not even aware that they're there, but they've just been developed over 20, 25 years of, this is what marriage does. And this is like, so I mean, you remember on our honeymoon, we're both in bed, and she's like, did you lock the doors? And I'm like, no, did you?
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, you need to do that. And I'm like, says who? Right?
And
it's like, I'm thinking, your leg's broken? What's the problem here, right?
And
I didn't say that. Too smart.
Point of fact, in my family, my dad would go to bed much earlier because he had health issues. And my mom was the one who locked up. Where did I get that expectation that Kim was going to be the locker upper? Well, it was just going to be that way.
Well,
so just
I think the expectation there was rooted in wanting. Now he's your protector.
That's right.
Now,
it was
he's
definitely
your safety. Yeah.
Yeah. And what we found over the years is that all of our negative emotion can be traced back to unmet attachment needs. Yeah. And so attachment theory has become quite popular in the last 20 years. John Gottman, Dr. Sue Johnson, Gordon Neufeld, all really do great work on attachment needs. And so it's like, whenever we now have negative emotion, I start to think, oh, what's an unmet attachment need?
What's my longing?
What's my longing? And if that's not being met, either in my relationship with God, in my relationship with my friends, or in my relationship with Darlene, I will have negative emotion. So that's my responsibility. I have to learn how to create a world so that my attachment needs are met, so that I'm not walking around like, more please. It's like I'm walking around full and not empty, because a lot of addictions comes about because people are walking around empty, and they'll look to anything and anyone to help fill up this need for belonging, attachment, affirmation, being understood, listened to.
So what saved our bacon in our first year,
nice tie back. Nice tie back to the bacon.
Yeah. What really saved it was the one thing I did come out of counseling with for sure was the first thing I was taught was how to reflect or mirror somebody's thoughts and feelings. So consistently we would feel misunderstood by each other and misheard.
Right.
And so through gritted teeth, we would go, okay, I imagine you might be thinking this and feeling this. Is that close? And that would just diffuse the situation. It would turn arguments from days. I'd never had arguments for days before I married. Arguments for days into minutes.
Right.
And so that is something that
you were good at it. It took me a long time.
And now I think you're better at it than I am.
Well, I didn't want, excuse me, I didn't want to reflect lies from the enemy. Right. She's like, she would say something, I'm like, oh, that you're full of crap. Right. And so it's like, and I'm not going to reflect that. I'm not going to go, oh, so you're thinking or you're feeling that this,
that
and
I
this,
don't love you.
Or whatever. I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. So it took me years to realize, like, oh, just because I'm reflecting for her doesn't mean that I agree with her. It just means that I want the wall to come down so that I can touch her heart.
So we taught our sons to do it, and they became masters.
Yeah.
Which is kind of wonderful and frustrating some days.
Yeah. Great legacy. What a mic drop, though. You go up the aisle with desire and come back down the aisle with expectations.
I think we heard that from somebody. Just said Andy Stanley said that. I don't know.
Who knows? But
let's give it to Andy.
But it's good.
That's great. We'll give it to Andy. That's a great line, though. Hey, I just want to remind our viewers, you can ask questions by making in the comments. Whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, you can actually just ask questions in the comments, and it pops up in our studio here, and we'll make sure we answer any of those questions. So you guys, that was such richness right there, and I really want to encourage the viewers. Like, if you have family members or friends who are in marriage crisis right now, I just want to tell you, like, send this video to them. Like, you'll be able to share it once the live cast is over and whatnot. You can share this video, because that was, if we could learn what you guys just talked about in the last 10 minutes, we would save a lot of marriages in this country.
That's true.
Don't you believe that? And I think the first place, we learn how to, if we can learn how to do what you just said, first with God, then with ourselves, we're going to be stellar with our partners, with our people we're in relationship with.
What Kim described is when you realize what the negative emotion is. Okay, what's my longing? What do I want?
Yeah.
And then to ask for it in a way that's not like, you never listen to me. Instead, I could start with a face open, like I have to work on my eyebrows up, not too high so I look like I'm in shock, but just up a little bit, smile just a little bit, like, babe, I'd really love about 15 minutes today to just unload some stuff, because I'm feeling, like
Yeah, I don't want you to fix it. I don't want
yeah.
you to solve it.
Could you
I don't
just
want advice.
listen? And then if you have something that you want to share back, but I'm not feeling really valued right now, and so I'm thinking that 15 minutes of just listening and maybe you responding a bit would make me feel a little bit more valued. Like, who wouldn't want to do that? I can do that. But it's like, you never listen to me. You don't have time for me. You're ignoring me. It's like, well, I don't want to get close to that.
Yeah, you listen to your dog more than you listen to me, or whatever the comment is. That's a wall building, grenade throwing
and
exercise.
I was good at those. I got like, I didn't even have to say it. I could just do the look. Like,
we're really good at wall building and grenade throwing.
I always tell people aren't going to listen to your angry voice anyway. So your needs won't be met. So I always tell you got to teach people how to love you.
But I got to say it louder.
That's true.
And I got to say it slower.
Tell them
I got
what you want.
to repeat myself.
Tell them what you want.
15 different ways. And then you will hear me. Right?
Or I give you the silent treatment. That'll work.
Oh yeah.
Tantrum.
I'm going to withhold love from you because you did not meet an expectation that I did not tell you about.
Yes, that I wasn't even aware of.
And that's like that. I had no idea how selfish I was. I had no idea because I was only looking through my eyes. Anytime Holy Spirit has helped me look through Kim's eyes and try to reflect for him, I just naturally start calming down a little bit. It's like, oh, there's just a whole different way of looking at it. I think it's not true, or I think it's not, as good as my idea, but like his perspective really is this. He's not, I don't know if he's actually ever set out to try to hurt me. Now, some of your listeners might go, well, I know I've tried to hurt people, or my spouse or my friend has tried to hurt me. And I'm not saying that because I have tried to hurt Kim. There have been times I really tried because I wanted to give it.
Well, you wanted me to feel your pain.
That's right.
That's it.
But if I can kind of go, wow, in this, before the exchange gets heated, he's probably not trying to hurt me. Huh? Then what is going on?
I mean, you're kind of hearing a theme here. Our first stop with negative emotion is in the spiritual realm. So I've tried to make my first stop friendship. They're not usually able to handle the depth of my emotion, especially my negative emotion.
Yeah.
I've tried to make Darlene my first stop. She also might get flooded and overwhelmed and then
accused.
And not there for me. And therefore then I get angry because I tried to be vulnerable with you, which is what you want. And then this is what you do. So my favorite first stop now is like, okay, I go on a walk. It usually is a prayer walk. And
angry God walk. I
call them angry God walks. And I'm not all the time angry at God. I want to be angry in his presence. So Jesus said, anyone who's weary and full of burdens, come to me. Like bring these to me. Right. So I do that. And I speak out my negative emotion. So in my neighborhood, I walk all along. I have a little path back there, and I just go on these things all the time. And I want to get out my negative emotions so that I'm not being like this pressure cooker where the hot steam is coming out at Darlene because I've shut it down. As there's lots of cultures that do this, but Canadians were pretty good at this. It's shutting down negative emotion, and then shocked when the heat gets up and the steam gets out, it just starts to burn people around us, and they're like, "Ouch!" And I'm like, "I'm just so angry or whatever." So I try to get as much of that negative emotion out and with Jesus. Right. And then when I'm done, I'm like, okay, Jesus, what do you have to say? So that's a big piece. We really try, the majority of what I do time-wise is to help people learn how to connect.
For some of the audience that maybe they don't subscribe to faith in Jesus, but I often tell people, and it's interesting because even my client, I had one particular client that wasn't a believer in faith, like didn't have faith in Jesus, but he believed there's a God somewhere. So I just told him, I said, when you're feeling the pressure rising, why don't you just ask him?
Yeah.
Just say, hey, God, I need your help right now. He came back in a couple of weeks for the next session bouncing and said, it worked. It worked. And so I want to say, regardless of where anybody's at in their faith, or if you believe in God or don't or whatever, listen, the principle that Kim's talking about is going to a higher power, going to God and venting it out and getting rid of that angst and temperature before you take it out on your spouse or your family or your kids. Take it somewhere. where you want to take it though is somebody that has greater knowledge than you or greater. So yeah, coaches, we believe in coaching.
Excellent. Yeah.
Kim and I are coaching. So we're coaching. So we believe in coaching. So if you take it to a coach, take it to somewhere that can give you perspective that you can't get on your own. But we just want to say, as coaches, our main coach is God. Because he really is the best coach ever. And so I just wanted to clarify that, not just because I don't want people that may not believe the same as us lose out on the principles we're teaching just because they don't believe the same as us. And that's such a powerful principle. Yeah.
And even for those that I coach that don't have that same faith, I'll say we hand out feelings wheels, which is the 7 different colors and all the different emotions and circles, and they get more specific as you get out. It's like, take this feelings wheel, go for a walk. In your case, it wouldn't be prayer. It would just be getting it out, but speak it out loud. Because the research shows that even as we name our negative emotion, it dissipates that negative emotion by half, which is great. Wow. So now I'm not buzzing with my negative emotion or my loneliness or isolation or accusation or whatever. And I've actually named it. Oh, I'm feeling invisible. Oh, that's what's going on. Or I'm feeling accused. Oh, so it's just really helps whether or not you do it in prayer to get that negative emotion out.
I've done that tonight.
So good.
Because sometimes I'll wake up because the world's going crazy around me, either the macro or the micro, and I'll have some strong feelings and have a hard time going back to sleep. So I'll just turn over and whisper, I am so whatever. I'm so anxious, or I'm feeling so discouraged or scared. And it's amazing. I can go back to sleep. But if I just let it keep in my head, I'm up.
Well, the battleground's in the mind, because I always say you change your mind, you change your life. The battleground's in the mind. And so when you see, there's a difference between expressing and ventilating. In my anger management class I teach, it's like ventilation doesn't work because you're venting it towards someone. And so you're not actually even listening to yourself. So you're not hearing what your emotions are. You're just spewing, right? But expressing is a way to dissipate anger by just doing what you just said. You don't have to express it loudly. You could whisper under your breath and say, I'm really feeling frustrated right now. And if you're a person of faith, or even if you're not, you can say, God, I need your help. Higher power, I need your help right now. But just by expressing it actually removes the tension of it. So then you can actually look at it and say, okay, why was I feeling that? You want to go to the next layer. Anger is always a secondary emotion. It's never the first emotion. So you need to dig down a bit. Yeah. So good, you guys. So good. Just want to remind audience, hey, ask questions, make comments. Even if you're just agreeing with something we're saying, or it's a mic drop moment for you, put it in the comments. We want to see you engage with this conversation as well. So that's awesome. So now you're working through your emotions. You start having a family, and the kids add another layer of new self-discovery. So
only positive. Only positive.
Yeah. When they're cute and small, and then as they get bigger.
No, because then they're not sleeping, or they're not eating, or they're not pooping. Who knew you'd be so invested in somebody pooping?
Yeah. So let's fast forward a little bit. You guys are kind of in the world of ministry, leading churches, and there's a lot of tension that comes with that, and everybody has tension in their jobs.
Mark, what are you talking about?
Yeah. Well, maybe it was just me. But there's there's these tensions, and there's people pulling on you and demanding you, whatever. What did you guys do to navigate through those times? Because I know you guys went through some really hard times in leadership as well. And so what was some things that helped you get through those times?
Do you want to go first, and then I'll go?
Sure. I ended up at a doctor's office in 2009, and he asked me a bunch of questions, and they said, okay, hand your phone to your wife. And I'm like, okay. So I handed my phone to my wife, and he said, you're not going to see this phone for 6 months. Wow. I'm like, why am I not going to see this phone for 6 months? He goes, because you're going on medical stress leave, and you won't go back to the office, and you won't do anything, and you're actually going to you're actually going to, restore your soul. I think those are the words he used. And
Right.
I'm like, he goes, you're not okay. So I'm like, okay. So I had allowed my interior world to come undone. We talk about the front row of life. If you're in a theater, you really can't control who's in your theater, like who's your neighbors, who your sister is. Like, you can't control family, but you can control where they sit in the theater. And the closer to the front they get, the more powerful their voice is. What I had done is I allowed some people that should have not been in the front of my theater into the front. And that caused a lot of internal chaos that I didn't know how to manage. And so I kind of hit the wall. And so I had to kind of just isolate for a bit and take, eat a large pieces of humble pie and go, I have not done this well. I could blame others, and that's the easy way out. But I need to understand what the choices that I have made and the beliefs that I have committed myself to that aren't healthy. So I did go through a 6-month process that it's like, okay, I want to own my own stuff.
Right.
And so first couple months were just learning how to breathe and learning how to be okay with not producing anything, because a lot of us, our value is based on what we produce, right? And so if we're not producing, then we have no value. So, okay, Jesus, do I have value when I'm not producing? So we would have some conversations, and I revamped my front row completely. It's almost like I shut it down to 0, and then I started to pick 1 or 2 or 3 people that I really wanted to give weight to their words. Right. And that started to slowly build some confidence again, because of my confidence had taken a huge hit. It slowly started to rebuild my ability to manage negative emotion. I had a smaller group of people to process that negative emotion and bring and get some wisdom back in my life, and then rediscover again what my core calling was. Because when you hit the wall like that, you forget calling, you forget identity, you forget everything, and you're just trying to survive, right? It's like your boat gets overturned and you're just trying to find the surface of the water. That's kind of how it feels. And then you can break the surface of the water. It's like, I'm lost. There's no boat. There's no land. Man, I'm screwed, right? So it's like just to rebuild from nothing again, to go say, okay, I need to discover this. I need to get some clarity on this. And then I need to move forward with confidence and conviction as to who I actually am, who we are as a couple, who we are as a family, and to start to get some joy back into doing the thing that God had called me to do. So she was a massive help. My core friendship circle.
I was going to ask Darlene, what did that look like? Like, from Darlene, what was that support looking like? What was the mindset you took on? Because this will help the viewers. Like, how do we help our spouses when they're in crisis?
Well, it did help that 3 months before he hit the wall, I had actually been teaching on front row, and the Lord told me to move some people out of my front row. The people that he had in his front row, and I didn't see it coming. I didn't see how unhelpful it was, but it was his kindness that said, I want you to move them back. And I'm like, okay. So it doesn't mean I don't have anything to do with them. I hate them. It's like their voice didn't have the same kind of power. Yeah. So it actually allowed me to not have the rug completely pulled out from under me. And so, I mean, we talked about this morning, that both of our parents worked together alongside each other in business, in ministry, in whatever they did. So we had, even though they didn't talk about, we had modeling of, hey, we're in this together. And so our shared goals was to make a difference. And I didn't believe, like Kim did at that point, that everything he'd done was a waste. Pointless. I didn't believe that. I believe that every time you pour into somebody, it is, and you do it unto the Lord, it's just, it's just bonus.
It's so true. And I can confirm that, because Kim spoke, like, before that happened, you had been an immense encouragement to me and a leader I looked up to. And when you went through that time, it didn't diminish what you had spoken into my life and how you ministered to me.
That's so good.
God used you to speak into my life. And then while you're going through it, I always believed in you, and I knew that it would all be okay. Right. And then afterwards, just so proud how you walked through it and how you handled it. And and with grace and the way you did everything. And I just thought, wow, everything he had actually spoken into my life had more authority and more weight because of the way you walked through that trial.
Interesting.
And so I just want to encourage you with that, Kim, that people that maybe you lost track of or in the clouds or had to move back or whatever, it actually didn't diminish your impact on their lives. And actually, if they watched with any observation and curiosity, they would have seen how much grace you walked out that whole journey with. It will actually increase the value of what you spoke into their lives. And I think that's a lesson for us all. I am saying that to honor you, but I'm also saying it for the audience. When you walk through a trial with grace and you provide space and grace for those that are walking through a trial, like Darlene did for Kim, that what you do is you actually create an intimacy that can't be replicated any other way. When you go through crisis together and you stand together through the crisis and get out the other end, it does something to your connection that can't be done any other way. Do you agree?
I agree. Yep.
And we did have children at home, 2 of them at that time. One was in college coming back, and they were watching. And so we were very, very intentional. And even though we were, grieving and working through what's the rest of our life going to look like at this point, we didn't want them to get bitter, and we didn't want to communicate bitterness, because bitterness just destroys you. And I've been around bitter old people, and I don't.
I've been around bitter young people.
I don't want to look like that, because it's just hard to look at, because it's so. And so there was total self-preservation. It's like, Lord, I don't want to get bitter. Lord, please help me. Like, I just help me to forgive over and over. I mean, to let it go, because I'm watching my husband, who is not like, it's not like he was. I've met people who it was so devastating when they went through a mental collapse or something like that they were in the corner. He wasn't like that, but he did spend a lot of time in playing video games and trying to escape. And he wasn't the person that I'd known him to be, the strong person, because
I found that you could rent 12 movies for $12.
That was
a great day.
Back in the day, right?
Yeah, that's right. Go to Blockbuster and So what she did, though, was that she just decided to put a lot of affirmation toward me and not a lot of expectation. That was the brilliant context that she gave for me. So just tons of affirmation, reminding you who I was, because I forgot. Right. In crisis, you forget who you are. Yeah. And so she would remind me who I am. And then she would very little expectation, which is exhausting for her. She needed to have a turn. Like after I came back, she needed to have a turn where she could process some of her negative emotions. So everybody needs a turn, but it just happened to be my turn for an extended period of time. So you were brilliant at that point, just the way you cared for and loved. And
I mean, but as family members, you never know how long that season's going to be. Right? When you're in it, you don't know, is this the rest of our life?
Yeah.
Well, that was your concern. Have I lost my husband?
Yeah, it was. So I did have some really good friends who God had told me to put in my front row. And, I'd go for coffee and they would just say, get it out. So I'd just get out all the pain.
That's so important.
Try not to get too much.
No, I didn't feel it.
I want to highlight that, though, just real quickly. That's so important. So lower your expectation of your spouse when you're trying to support them in a crisis. Lower your expectation, raise your affirmation. But also, you said something key there, Darlene, is you got help you needed.
Yes.
From outside sources, so that you weren't dependent on Kim. So he didn't have to carry that weight as well. Yes. And it was only for a season. You didn't know how long the season, but that's such an important piece. I think, I'll tell a quick story. Interestingly, Kim helped me coin a phrase I use to this day, and that is conflict fatigue. If you remember that conversation at Starbucks, I was a mess. And Sandy, actually, my wife, Sandy actually told me, you need to call Kim or somebody and whatever's going on there, like, deal with it.
Whatever's going on.
And we were, the thing was when we sat down, we weren't having conflict. Sandy and I weren't in a conflict. Not that time. I mean, there's been other times, but it wasn't conflict fatigue from within my family. But Kim asked me a few questions, and when I started telling him what I was dealing with, he was like, "Oh, you have conflict fatigue." It's like, whoa. So what I realized it was other people's conflict I was trying to help manage that pulled me into it. And so the best thing I could do was to actually go to Kim for some help so that my wife wasn't carrying the burden of my conflict fatigue, which had nothing to do with her.
Nothing.
Yeah. So that's it.
She had to pay for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. With my grumpiness. And so,
yes.
So I just wanted to stop and highlight that, because that was such a beautiful point, Darlene, in marriage. When you're going through, sometimes we take personally when our spouse is in conflict, when they're in crisis and they're going through a difficult time, could be work, could be whatever. Sometimes we take it personally and think that they're, that I've done something wrong, and then that just creates this tension that can really damage a relationship and damage a marriage. And I've seen it over and over. But when you can pull together, and that's a great segue, because I want to just talk about this for a few minutes. It seems like, and don't let me put words in your mouth, but in the book I talk about how important it is for a family to have a vision and mission statement and a set of values that they agree to, so that becomes the guiding principles. I say the vision and mission are like riverbanks. So instead of jumping into dinghies in the ocean where you could drift apart, because how many times have I heard that? We just drifted apart. We just don't love each other anymore. Right. You're creating a flow of water, a lifeline, a life flow that your whole family, or at least your spouse and you, can jump into. And a few things you guys have said is, it seems like you've lived life on purpose in that sense. You've had a shared vision of life. You've had a shared, and it's been spoken and it's known. And that's what kind of keeps you in place sometimes when you're going through these crises.
Yeah, I don't think it started that way. I mean, according to John Estasi Eldridge, men come into the world with a question of, do I have what it takes? And we do everything to try to prove to ourselves and to other people that we have what it takes. I think that's what I was trying to do at the beginning. Just trying to prove to myself and other people, boss, coworkers, people in the congregation, whoever, that I have what it takes. Women's core question is, am I desirable? So I think she was trying
inside and out.
Yeah, she was trying to get her question answered. I was trying to get my question answered, and it became this almost wrestle for, no, I need oxygen. It's like, no, I need oxygen. It's like, oh, there's not enough, right? So even in the realm of calling or mission, identity, all that kind of stuff, I just kind of took over. It's just like, oh, I want to do this, and you were in agreement with it.
Well, I was in agreement because of my educational background, I wanted to prioritize my children's early years, so I wanted to stay home, which was going to be a calculated decision. We were not going to make as much money, so he was going to have to be the breadwinner. So absolutely, I wanted him to figure out what you want to do.
It was a small piece of
bread
that I won. It was a little bun.
Hey,
it was a little dinner roll.
Really, it's like a little butter roll.
It was a Timbit. It was a Timbit. Yeah.
Timbit.
Hey guys,
a Timbit winner.
So we wanted to have children, and so we had decided I would be the primary caregiver in the early years. So that meant, of course, he was going to follow his mission and guidance. But along the way, any of those listeners that have had children, you lose your mind. Like, you literally, your brain goes to the baby right from in the womb. Like, you kind of go, oh, baby brain.
You didn't even sneak up on that one. You just.
We lose our minds. So we forget even what we want, but we know we're really frustrated because we used to be an articulate, put together. We should not have baby throw up on us. Like, we used to be somebody that we would introduce to other people, and then suddenly we're just, what the heck happened to you? Oh, you had a baby. So I would start saying, I remember after our second son was born, I sat down one day and I was like, what do I like? What do I like? I like sharp pencils. Like, I started making a list of what I like.
You do.
Because I didn't know who I was anymore. Kim, like, always believed in me, and he'd be encouraging me to take different opportunities as soon as possible, even though I was like, but I can't finish my sentences right now with you. Why do you think you put a mic in front of me, I'll be okay. But his belief in me and encouraging me to take the opportunities that were given to me were crucial at that time. But
so we weren't very intentional.
Well, we were intentional that we knew we wanted one. We believed that success is listening and obeying, and that everybody has a God-given, yes, but a God-given kind of design that there, and not that there's only one thing we can do, but there are places that we gravitate towards, and there are things that feel more, oh, this is right and this is good. And ours was working with people and helping them. And so we decided, like, the difference between success and influence. Success is adding value to yourself. Influence is adding value to other people. Ooh. So we were okay with,
mic drop.
I know. So and so we would define our success by, how we can help others, like literally with relationships. And we felt like we'd earned some authority in it because we'd made so many mistakes. We weren't coming down condescending. Oh, you fight? How horrible for you. Like you have problems with understanding your children. Oh, that must be hard. Like we feel like we made the mistakes, not all of them, of course, but we made enough that made us humble and wanting to get in and see how can we help. We don't pretend to have all the answers.
So our mistakes aren't fatal. They're learning opportunities.
Totally.
There you go.
So about 15 years in, we're in the vehicle, and we had a couple different opportunities, and mostly based around my calling, my desire, whatever, and totally supportive and all that kind of stuff. So I remember sitting in the vehicle, and I'm like, so babe, what are some of your dreams?
Now remember, I live with the Dream King.
Yeah.
We walk on beaches, and he's looking for the silver suitcase filled with money.
I always think that someone's dropped off a suitcase of money and it's going to land at my feet.
This is my husband.
And so I'm like looking out, because you don't want to miss that silver suitcase filled with money, even though it's probably drug money. They don't need it.
Well, that's just redemption. We're redeeming.
We can do something good with that.
So he's the dream master.
So I dream all the time. I got a dream a week, and we could do this and we could do that. And so I remember 15 years
I have that same ailment.
Yeah. So 15 years in, I'm like, babe, what are some of your dreams? And I don't remember anger. I do remember forthright, I think would be a good word. And she goes, there is no room for me to dream in this family because you suck all the dream oxygen out of the room. And I'm like,
I think I've been stuffing something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, I have no idea. And she just starts to cry. And I'm like, oh man, I got to back up this truck. So it takes a while.
But that was self-awareness on my part. He was poking at something that I'd probably been building, and it just came out that I was mad at him.
Yeah.
But I was just mad because I don't know who am I?
So then we just started to, so what are some of the things that get you emotional in the realm of calling and destiny? Yeah. We just really pay a lot of attention as to what gets you emotional, because underneath that emotion, you might find a bit of your calling. So if it's, if you really get agitated over the kid in the grocery store that's being mistreated by his parents, it's like, oh, that gets you emotional. Okay, then you might really love to do something that actually helps families. Or if somebody gets emotional for orphans or for seniors or for the poor or for the environment, whatever the passion is, that you get to, there might be some calling, some destiny behind all this. So for the next few years, we just started to explore what are some of her dreams and her callings, which has turned into her going to schools, public schools, universities, all that kind of stuff, and talking about and doing presentations on healthy relationships and healthy sexuality. So that was the result of what are some of your dreams. And now we are, I think, we've been married a long time, and we're starting to get some real clarity on what we are called to as a couple. I wish we would have started when we were 24, but we probably didn't really even think about this until we were in our 40s and begin to go, oh, what is it? And I think a lot of people, when they get near 60, they just go, oh, we're landing. We're landing now, and we're going to hand it off to the next generation. I'm like, no, I think I have got more wisdom, more time, and more money to do the thing that God has called me to do. Why would I go sit in the sidelines?
Yeah.
Right. And so we're probably more excited now than, for me anyway, than I've ever been about about walking out the calling that God has given us and doing it together as a team.
And,
So
and
sometimes
what a team.
yeah.
But what I wish that we would have had you, Mark, in the.
It's Mark. Who's Mike?
He's got a mic in front of him.
Oh,
I wish we'd had you.
Did you? Oh, that was good.
No, right? I wish
Nice
we'd
try.
had you, Mark, asking a question about mission,
Yes.
because I've sat in an office next to where you did a workshop twice now on mission. And it was with most of them were probably single moms. And you were like, what's your mission for your family? And I mean, my mouth was dropping open and I was in between taking calls and working. So I only heard parts of it. And I thought, that's so brilliant, because yes, the big picture as a follower of Jesus, I want to give glory to God.
Yeah.
Right. But what's my piece? And the pieces can change over time and will evolve, but they'll often have themes in them.
Yeah,
So,
and there's a core value that comes with it's the value and the guiding principle that's more important than the actual what you do.
And if you know what your values
who
are,
I am,
if you know what your values are, it's not as difficult to make decisions.
So we exist to help people discover who God has called them to be. That's why we exist, and so that's important to have. We have an exist statement, but then we have different genres, and so we really focus on marriage and family. That's just kind of where a lot of our thing goes to. So we do marriage seminars. We just got back from Victoria a couple of days ago, where we event with one parent, one child, and so we filled the room
over the age of 12
with teams of one parent, one child, and we just had a blast doing lots of fun activities and a little bit of teaching and discussions. And so we're here to cheer on families to actually do really well and to same thing with marriages. So it's kind of, and then you go into school, talk about healthy relationships and healthy sexuality. So it's kind of where we have really noticed the wind of God.
So and that's the thing is, okay, so we're at our age and we're doing these things. We discovered these things, but the beauty of this is that a young couple might be listening to this and say, wow, let's not wait till we're 60 like this guy.
Not quite. 58.
Okay,
2 weeks. Yeah.
Sorry, I ran ahead with that one.
No, I'm just teasing.
I ran ahead before you.
But I'm in my 60s, so I can say it. But all I'm saying is, young people gain wisdom from older people that have gone through the trials, the fire, whatever, and you might get some perspective. And Kim and Darlene run they're doing these weekend seminars that called radicalrelationships.love. If you want to find out about what they're doing, that's the best way to track them. And so I've put it in the comments, and I've also just put it up here on the screen. So radicalrelationships.love. I love that .love thing. That's pretty interesting. And so that is we're running out of time, that's too bad. Like I said, we could have gone another half hour. I got so many questions.
Well, at least we're not bored.
But at least we're not bored. That went by fast, didn't it?
Worst.
It's crazy how fast this goes by.
Crazy.
But you guys drop so much wisdom and nuggets. Like, I really encourage people to go back and watch again, because there's little nuances that you pick up on that you can really help you. I want to just kind of give you an opportunity here to kind of close this off. What would you say to young families, to young couples? What would you want to leave them with today? If this was like an opportunity, a legacy moment that you could drop something into somebody's heart that may watch this from all different backgrounds, different places, different, whatever, what would you kind of want to say to them?
I would say don't quit.
Yes.
Because a couple months into our marriage, if my dad had not said, don't go home, you can't come home without your husband. If he had, if I'd been less stubborn, I would have quit. I absolutely would have, because it was not what it was meant to be. It's not what it was supposed to be. And I don't like getting hurt, and I don't like rejection. I don't like conflict. I don't like a lot of things that came up in our marriage. And I'm so grateful I didn't quit. And that doesn't mean just sit there and don't quit and keep doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result.
Right. That's insanity.
That's insanity.
Don't quit, but get the help you need.
Mm-hmm.
Get the help.
And do it for the marriage. not just the other person. Like a marriage is something you feed or you starve. And so feed it with good things.
Certain seasons of life, most of my clients in a certain given week might be multimillionaires. And it's just an interesting group of people that you kind of connect with. But they're a lot of them are frustrated. They've learned how to make a difference, but they haven't learned how to give and receive love.
Right.
And so even though they got millions of dollars in the bank and run a big company and lead lots of people and produce interesting products, there is what I believe to be a God-shaped vacuum inside, because they haven't made a priority out of learning how to give and receive love. So that would be a great foundation stone. On that foundation, go ahead and make a difference. But that's why commandment 1 is 1, and that's why commandment 2 is 2, right? And then the third is, go teach people to make disciples, teach them to obey all my commands. And so that's go make a difference. But that second commandment usually is the one it's really difficult. It's like, well, how do I learn to give and receive love with my closest neighbor, which is right here? Yeah. And so that's why we really believe in marriage, because that's the foundation stone from which you can launch your desire to really make a difference in the world.
Right. We have a question from Robotic Pug. So
I'd like to see that.
You guys have done so well today. You've even impressed the dogs.
Wow.
Something I see you both doing really well is loving each other. What would you say is the best way to love your spouse?
Become a student of your spouse. So Tim loves words. Words don't mean the same thing to me. He loves it. So whenever I think anything positive about him, I say it. Wow, I like being married to you. Wow, I like you in that shirt.
So that's whenever you think positive?
Pretty like it there was a season where I knew I had to up my game, right? And you were in shock. It's like, what's going on? It's because I thought
it meant the world to me.
So words, I'm working on that. I'm still not great at writing them down, right? But I'm.
Oh yeah, I got lots of letters and notes from you.
But I mean, studying and then.
And for me, it's
and using words like respect, like you love, respect, admire, appreciate.
I think most men do. But I mean, we've kind of settled on 8 core attachment needs or longings, and so it's like I want to be a student of my wife to find out what really fills her up, and so for her to feel like a priority, to feel desired.
Yeah. So when he says, "I wouldn't want to be with anybody else right now," or "I just love going," I want to be wherever you are today.
I'd go watch paint dry with you.
So. You know,
that just fills her up. And I'm like, really? But anything I can do to remind her that she is my priority fills her up. Right. Anything I can do with small gifts or quality time really fills her up. So not just the love languages, but it's just like, oh, I want to learn, you need to feel safe, or you need to know that I'm thinking about you.
And women change.
And so it's just a lifelong, I want to learn you, and I want to learn what it means to make you feel as valuable as you actually are.
Which translates to the bedroom, which translates to the kitchen, which translates everywhere.
Every room.
Every room.
Every room of the heart, every room of the house.
Come on.
Every room of the house.
Right? That's such a good answer. Be a student of your spouse. Learn.
Way to go, Robotic Pug.
By the way, finish us off here. I know we're over time, but finish us off with what are the 8 core? What you said 8? Can you remember them, or am I testing your memory?
He observed people and he just made them up.
I know, but that's why I want them. Like,
well, it actually came out of my reading of Sue Johnson's work.
So good.
Hold Me Tight is the name of her book, and also 7 Principles of Making Marriage Work. So 2 core needs that everyone
relationship matters is the other one, right? Like that's
that's it. You got it. Yeah. So the 2 core needs that people have is to feel secure and to feel significant. That's kind of the big, what you need to make you feel secure, and what do you need to make you feel significant. Underneath security are a few things like, are you going to be there for me even if I fail? If you are, then I feel safe and I feel attached. Right. Will you take my side and protect me? Another one, huge attachment need. And can I trust you to not give up? Those all go towards significance. No, sorry, security. Thank you. Security. What goes towards significance are things like, am I respected, admired, appreciated, respected? And those can be either actions or words. Another one is, am I valued? And am I a priority of yours, even if I don't perform? Another one is, do you see me, and am I understood and heard and listened to? That's a huge core attachment need. And then, am I desirable? Do you want to be with me? And then the eighth one would be, do I belong? And so we put these
something bigger than
we put these on a sheet, and we say, people, go ahead and pick your top two, and then I get to communicate to her, these are the top two that fill my cup. Right. So let's learn. I want to learn how to fill you up, and you want to learn how to fill me up. And then that's where the friendship really starts to work. And it feels like, wow, I'm known, I'm loved and liked, and I'm a priority. Shoot.
And then we just want to make sure that if there's holes in the bucket and all that filling up just seeps out right away, that might be childhood trauma, might need some professional help.
Yep.
Wow.
You know, there might be some really deep wounds.
Man, one thing I've discovered is we got to do this again in a couple of months and keep going, because there's all kinds of things.
One thing I've discovered is you're so encouraging.
That was awesome. That was awesome. So so there's a takeaway. Okay. Here's something you can do this week, people. You watchers out there. Take a curiosity and a position with your spouse or your children. You could ask them ask everybody in your family. Okay. Sit down with them and ask them what fills your bucket. What are two questions? What are the two questions that for significance and security?
Yes.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, what could I do that would make you feel more secure, and what could I do that would make you feel more significant?
Right.
Excellent.
So there's that you can't get more practical than that. Yeah. I really encourage you, if you're watching this today or you're watching later on the recording, do that with your spouse and do it with your children. Ask them those two questions, and I guarantee you, when you get the answer and you start acting on it, your relationship will go very deep very quickly. You will have an intimate emotional intimacy that you maybe never have had before, and that is such a great takeaway for today. So thanks.
And I wish I would have started this before I even got married and had kids. Right.
I know, right?
If you're single, it's like, you can build a network of friendship that really gets good at this, so that once if you do decide to get married, you're hitting the ground running, not going, I have no idea how to do this.
That's a great input, because you can even do it with your parents and with your your best friends. And right now, so even if you're single, all these principles apply to any relationship. And by the way, apply everything we've said to work relationships.
For sure.
Good.
Because if you want a healthy culture in your organization, apply what Kim and Darlene have taught you today, and you will have an amazing. Imagine that if that was the review, job review. If you asked what makes you feel secure, what makes you feel, I mean, those employees would stay with you forever.
Forever.
Yeah, that's high EI, right? Emotional intelligence. It's like I'm able to manage my emotions and my relationships in a healthy manner.
I've coined a new one. I've coined a new one. RQ. Relationship quotient.
Way to go,
We were here.
We were here for it, folks.
You were here. Listen, what I've discovered today is we got to do this again. And the second thing is we really need to do a workshop together sometime live. Cool. Like we need to do, like, I don't know, combine our
so much
stuff.
laughing.
There's so much overlap and mutual honor and respect. We could do a lot of damage out there, folks.
We could.
All right, everybody. Well, listen, I'm going to sign off, and I just want to thank everybody for being here today. I got so much out of it. I know you must have as well. Again, if you know people who are struggling in their relationship, send them this video. It's really easy to do. You just share it to them, send it on Messenger, send it on right off of YouTube. You can just hit the 3 dots and share it with somebody. Give them a gift. This conversation with Kim and Darlene was a gift, and there were so many nuggets in there that you can take and use. And so why not share them? And so I just really would appreciate if you did that, share it around a bit. And we will see you next week, where we have a new guest, new topic, but it's all about relationships. See you then.